With that being said, we'll be moving into item 2 of the agenda, which is introductions. Introductions is a relatively new agenda item, which we will be seeing consistently on the agenda going forward. Many students at large and people across this campus are entering our spaces, sometimes for the first time in these Senate meetings. They most likely do not know who we are. So I'd like to keep this tradition of introductions going. Michael, if you could start us off with your name, position, and pronouns.
Evening, everybody. My name is Michael Gillette. I'm a Senate with our student government, and we're Senator with our student government. I always switch those two. And my pronouns are he, him, his.
My name is Amma, and I'm also a Senator. And my pronouns are she, her, hers, and they, them, theirs.
My name is Hannah Ryan, and I am a Senator of student government, and my pronouns are she, her, and they.
My name is Nick Keto. I'm the acting vice president, and my pronouns are he, him, his.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Atman. I'm a senator.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eugene Apuma. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm a senator.
Hey, everybody. Diego Wilson. I'm also a senator. And I go back to the records.
And let's see the staff on the do.
Mamadeo Rayvine. I'm a gender sexuality diversity advocate and is he, his pronouns.
I'm Sean Century Wyland. I'm the Chief of Staff of the Student Government, and I use he, him, his pronouns.
I'm Macy. I'm the Communications Director, and I use she, her.
My name is Ryan. I'm the Treasurer, and I use he, him, his pronouns.
Thank you so much, everyone. With that, we'll be moving into item 3 of the agenda, approval of the minutes from last week's meeting, which was November 8th, 2018. I want to remind everyone that the minutes are not verbatim transcripts of our meetings, but rather summaries to get the general gist of the meeting. Things will be left out sometimes, and I highly recommend that if you feel that the left out information is beneficial to be on the minutes, please reach out to our Communications Director, Macy, at aslccommunicationsdirector@gmail.com to get those changes made. I'll now open the floor to discussion and entertaining motions. Any changes to the minutes? Yep.
I move to approve the minutes for the meeting of November 8th, 2018.
I second that.
There's been a motion to approve the minutes from our last Senate meeting on November 8th, 2018, made by Michael and seconded by Hannah. We'll start with discussion from the maker of the motion.
I've reviewed the minutes. I understand that these are not a word-for-word transcription of what was discussed, but the overall discussion was kept in minutes.
And with a second.
No discussion.
And further discussion. Okay. And we'll now move into a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes from our last week's meeting on November 8th, 2018? Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes 6-0-0. With that, we're moving into item 4 of the agenda, approval of the agenda. I will open the floor to discussion and any motions.
I have a discussion point. Is Jacob here?
He's removed his.
Oh, okay.
He's not
running. So I noticed that Jesse isn't here, and the ratification is on the agenda. I think we should just keep that in case she shows up. But I would like to move, or I'd like to see like the ratification be put before staff position closure discussion. So that's something I'd like to change. Entertain any motions?
Does anybody have anything against that? You cool with that? Yeah. I move to adjust the agenda to move the staff ratification of sustainability coordinator before staff position closure.
There's been a motion to approve the agenda with moving staff ratification above staff position closure discussion, made by Diego, seconded by Amy. Is there any discussion started with the maker of the motion?
No, it's just I don't think I moved to approve the agenda, but let's go ahead and do that, because that's all in one fell sweat, and I think that's all we have anyways.
Okay.
Let's do it.
And with the second?
I don't think it's a major change.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a major change, so as you already said.
Awesome. Thank you. With that, or any further discussions?
2 questions. With ratifications, do they need to be present?
Yes. I mean, no, they can have statements read. Sorry, so no, they don't have to do that.
Okay. Because I do know that Jesse is making a food box run for Thanksgiving, and he's not going to be here for the meeting because of that.
Okay. So we'll leave it on the agenda and we'll just discuss it. Any further discussion? Okay, with that, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda with the changes stated? Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes 6-0-0. There's 6 of us, right? Yeah, 6-0-0. Okay. With that, we'll move into item 5 of the agenda, statements from the gallery. Each gallery member will be given 2 minutes. This is the time for students at large to bring to the Senate their concerns and voice their opinions on ASLCC matters. The Senate and staff shall not respond to gallery statements. Senators and staff, if you wish to respond, please do so within your Senate report or after the meeting. Lastly, I ask that anyone speaking please address the chair. First, I need a list.
And just really quick, for my sake, if everybody could say their name first so I can get it on the record, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so with that, our first statement will be from Ryan. And you have 2 minutes.
Hi everyone, my name's Ryan. I'd just like to say there's been a lot of conversation about how student government hasn't accomplished anything this year in the face of the interpersonal turmoil within the Senate. And I'd like to take a moment to offer some counterpoints to that statement, because from my perspective, student government's accomplished a great deal in their first term. To begin with, we managed to fill every student seat on governance councils. Many of them have backup students, and from my understanding, that's not a thing that's happened in a number of years. The governance councils are very important, and if students want to make a lasting change on the Lane campus, that's the vehicle to use to do it. The food pantry bears mention as well, because it's important to understand that in the move of the student government's office, that resource could have very easily just disappeared and fallen through the cracks. There were a lot of problems with getting it moved around, and if it wasn't for the drive of our student body president, Christina, Jezera, and Margaret, it would have been very easy for it to slip through the cracks and disappear for weeks, a term, maybe the entire year, depending on how much effort went in maintaining it. Student government took on an entirely new satellite project. The clothing stash was previously handled almost completely by Tina Lymuth. If it wasn't for student government and Amanda's hard work, it's a student resource that also may have closed down without our aid. On a personal level, our senators have been hard at work with the support of staff, looking out for a lot of less glamorous but no less important issues students at large have brought to our campus. Caleb Peterson spearheaded a drive to make LTD provide better training to their bus drivers regarding the Americans with Disabilities Act in the aftermath of their mistreatment of one of our differently abled students. He also sits on 2 local boards separate from LCC entirely, advocating for affordable housing for students and student renters' rights, which is something that I think everyone here can appreciate. Diego Wilson has motivated and pushed to move the table tennis club out of a dangerous area they've been meeting in. It's very easy to slip where they're playing table tennis right now, and into the gym where their club deserves the space. It's a project their advisor had been working on for years, and right now they're closer to succeeding in that than they have ever been. They're just looking for a storage issue.
Go ahead and finish.
Michael Gillette has led a push for greater visibility within student government, and when the food pantry reached the point of crisis in staffing, stepped up with his time to help keep the place open for students. Alyssa Landrum planned one of the first invited public speakers driven by student government initiative in a great deal of time. The timing had to be moved because of the holidays, but when winter term hits, the showing of Fruitvale Station and talk by the uncle of the murdered man will be here to educate students of Lane Community College. These are just a few of the things student government has been working on quietly, things that don't require us to have a big public vote, and in my opinion represent working for the students of Lane far more than a lot of things that could be done. And while the work we've done isn't the most visible or flashy, I feel like we're in the first term of the school year, and there are a lot of people accomplishing a lot of things that may not be public knowledge, and I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
Thank you so much. Next on the list we have Amadeo Rabine. You have 2 minutes, but you're our last one, so if you need more time, sure.
Hello everybody, my name is Amadeo Rabine, and I use he, him pronouns, and I'm speaking as a student. I'm actually graduating at the end of fall term, and I'm very excited about that. It's been a hard journey, and I just kind of want to speak about my problems I've had here at Lane Community College. I started in fall of 2015, and I came here because I thought it would be just, I'd come in and I'd get my degree in 2 years. That did not happen. And I just want to speak about some of the barriers. I first thought that my barriers to getting a degree here were strictly fund-related. I thought that it was just because I couldn't afford the school, and it was because I was working 2 jobs. And then I realized it was because of the greater institutional and barriers of just systematic oppression that weigh heavily in the classroom and in every part of this school and in every part of this community. And I don't hear people talking about it enough. And it's funny because we get trainings in student government, but I'm really trying not to talk about student government. I'm trying to talk from a student who watches the work that gets done from the outside and watches the work that gets done in classroom. I'm a transgender student, and I have been harassed in my classrooms. I have been harassed by students. I've been harassed on buses. I've been yelled at. I have had one of my friends get kicked out of her housing by someone who works here at Lane Community College because she's a trans woman and because she was voicing issues that she had with this school. I've heard from multiple students of color who are specifically who are black students and who are native students who have had issues and who don't feel as though they can come to any representative, who don't feel like they can go to the multicultural center, who don't feel like they can go to the student government, and who don't feel safe speaking up in the gender equity center that does nothing to represent students that are trans, that aren't, or are anything but white women, and sometimes white men. I do want to speak on that, but I just want to speak that this school really does nothing other than take money and funnel students into pointless careers sometimes. And I speak out to teachers, and there are teachers who care. And I speak out to some admins, and there are some admins who care. But there's a large population of LGBTQ students on this campus. There's a large population of international students on this campus, and students of color who are being severely misrepresented by the inability of anyone to have a critical conversation and look at their failings, of how they are not seeing how they contribute to these conversations, their misgivings, their failures to analyze how white supremacy off campus bleeds on campus, how certain organizations and fun little groups on campus might be breeding hate on campus, how certain instructors might be bringing hate into their classroom, who might be bringing false information and teaching the wrong things. We know what's wrong with our school, and it is white supremacy, and it is ignorance, and it is transphobia, and to name transmisogyny, but we don't talk about these things. It's taken me forever to get out of this school, and I had to drop out of one of my degrees because I was getting bullied, and I carry a lot of privilege as someone who looks white and someone who is at least finally respected in this space as a man. And I just want that to sit on all of your shoulders, that maybe you should be also really annoyingly hounding people about how little they really do to speak up about the racism and the transphobia at this school. Because I know last year, there were students who started to take action against this school, or who wanted to take action against this school. And there are some of us who are just too damn tired, or who are getting evicted and kicked out of our jobs by people who go to this school or who work here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Amadeo. Thank you again, everyone from the gallery, for being here and for your statements. We will now move into item 6 of the agenda, old business. We will start with 6A, inclusive college committee discussion. The idea for this committee originally started out as the Accessible College Committee to address the disparities that students with disabilities face on our campus, within a conversation about the intersectionality that exists between people with disabilities, people of color, queer folks, women. The committee formation has kind of taken a new direction in being more inclusive of all marginalized communities. So with that, oh, and then also it's important to note that this was a committee that was very active last year and did a lot of amazing work. So I'll open the floor to discussion now and entertaining emotions. Yeah, you can start us off.
This committee would facilitate and advocate for the overarching goals of the identity and inclusion clubs, which, from what I have seen, have kind of fallen to the wayside sometimes. And the committee would run through the end of the year, the end of the school year, with the option to continue on to the next if the next generation of student government loves it. And the meeting is
hold that for 1 second.
yeah. But then it would run through the end of the school year with the option to go on to the next. My idea, the little small idea that I had from what the conversation that Holiday had and I had about students with the LGBTQ community not really having a certified safe space, and then I started hearing all of the other little goals that are not really coming to the radar. And so the hope for this community would be the facilitators and the supporters to help those goals happen. So.
Anyone else have further discussion? And I just want to remind everyone that within a motion for the creation of these committees, it's a little better to be vague rather than trap ourselves into a motion. So I think if there was a motion we made that you can appoint a chair within the motion, that would be maybe something that's beneficial, and then also just acknowledging that it's going to be an open sort of thing that whoever's interested can sit on this committee. So, is there any further discussion, or I'll entertain motions, or?
I move to form a committee that will be known as the Inclusive College Committee, to be chaired by Adam, and 4 members will be selected by the chair, and the meetings will be set by consensus after the members are chosen.
Can you repeat that one more time?
I move to form a committee that will be known as the Inclusive College Committee, to be chaired by Adam. 4 members will be selected by the chair. The meetings will be set by consensus after the members are chosen.
Seconded.
Okay. So there's been a motion to form a committee called the Inclusive College Committee, chaired by Adam, consisting of 4 members selected by the chair, and the meeting will be set after the chair selects the members. Is that okay? Made by Hannah, seconded by Adam. I'll start with discussion with the maker of the motion.
I think I said everything I wanted to say in my initial discussion.
And the second.
I'd just like to add that we need more voices of people with disabilities, LGBTQ students, people of color. This is the place to do it, and now is the time to do it, and we can't keep putting this off. It has to happen now, and I think this is going to be a big step forward, and I look forward to working with as many people as possible to really have our voices heard and be impactful in that, to really create some change on this campus. So things such as what Amadeo has experienced and many other students have experienced does not happen in this place, in this.
Amy?
So I have basically 2 questions. I want to know how this committee is going to work, and what's the main goal of creating this committee?
Well, my main goal when I started to think about something like the Inclusive College Committee or the Accessibility Committee, as it was known, was really just the idea that I know that there are parts of the student body, the identity unions in particular, that really they seem like they're being heard, but they're not actually being heard. And so I wanted to have a committee that could help facilitate any goals that the clubs might have, or the identity unions might have. And then also, if everyone needs help getting a goal off the ground. And so if they needed help just getting the goal off the ground to be brought to the Senate or somewhere else. That's my idea behind that.
I'd like to add, I think, this is my purview, that really advocating for what they're looking for their needs, and possibly even events that they'd like to put on. Really just bringing it up and making it known to everybody so we can act on it, I think is another big goal.
Is there any further discussion? So I want to add a little bit to the discussion. So I have just like one concern with the motion itself is that it states that 4 members will be selected by the chair. I would prefer to see that left off the motion and it just be like a interest-based thing to whoever wants to be involved. I'd hate for us to have 5 people that want to be involved and have to go through those 5 and select 4 when we could have 5 people that want to be involved. And we don't want to turn people away from involvement. So that's why I kind of recommended that within the motion that you be a little more vague with membership.
I'd like to amend the motion to just state that members will be selected by the chair. No member.
Okay. There has been a motion to amend the original motion by removing the quantitative amount of how many members would be in the actual committee made by Hannah. Is there a second? Seconded by Adam. And we'll start with discussion. Maker.
I agree with you. There's going to be a lot of work to be done between 4 people. That'd be
And then, as the possible future chair, it seems a little bit daunting not to have, more than 4 people, so I think that's a great choice. And I'd like to yield the rest of my time to Ken.
Is this for students at large and not just student government?
So how they've worked in the past is the committee's formed, there's a chair, and then it's just open to anyone who's been interested. So we've had students at large sit on our committees, we've had staff members at the college sit on our committees, and then people within student government sit on the committees as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to reach out specifically to all the identity unions and identity clubs for that reason. Make sure that they have proper representation.
And further discussion, Nate?
Yeah, the 4 members, do they need to be senators or can be anyone?
No, so it would be, it can be students at large, it can be people that work for the college, and it could be student government members as well. Is there any further discussion on, okay. So we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of amending the original motion to not include the quantitative amount of how many members can be on the committee. All those in favor? And opposed? Opposed?
No.
Okay, okay. Abstentions? Okay. So that amendment passes 6-0-0. And then do I have to go back to the original motion? Okay. So now we'll move into a vote on the original. Oh, kind of did that. Oh. Then we'll move into a vote on the original motion. So all those in favor of forming a committee called the...
Hold on, I yield my time to Amadeo.
Was there a motion to make that vote?
The committee?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was an amendment to like change the number.
Okay, just yield the rest of my time to Ken.
You wouldn't go to the original motion, you vote on the amended motion.
Yeah, you have to vote on the amendment, and then you go back to the original motion.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little complicated. Okay, so we'll move into a vote on the motion. All those in favor of forming a committee known as the Inclusive College Committee, chaired by Adam, with members selected by the chair, with meetings to be set after the chair takes on their role. All those in favor? Okay, abstentions? Favor, opposed? Abstentions? Okay, vote passes 6-0-0. I'm super excited to see the work that this committee gets done. With that, we'll be moving into item 7 of the agenda, new business. We will start with 7A on the agenda, vice presidential appointment. We will start with a statement from our student body president, Keely Blyleven. Keely Blyleven, our president, could not be here tonight because she is sick and her son is also very sick. So I think we have someone that has the statement. Okay, Shauna, I'll give you 3 minutes.
I'm just going to step up behind you so that everybody can actually see who's speaking to them. Okay, so these are words from Keely Blyleven sent to me to speak on her behalf. As many of you are aware, my running mate Dan Good resigned from his position as vice president on October 25th. There have been many challenges that our student government administration has been working to overcome this school year, and in the face of these challenges, Senate Pro Tempore Nick Keough has stepped up to assume the position of interim vice president with courage and determination to ensure the vitality and effectiveness of our student government's ability to provide for our students. I'm honored to have appointed Nick Keough as our incoming vice president and fully believe in his ability to lead the Senate in the best interest of the student body. Thank you, Nick, for your work these past few weeks as interim VP and for your work to come. I am confident that you will serve our students and student representatives to the best of your ability, and I hope they will support you in your position as vice president the way I know you will support them in theirs. Keely Blyleven, ASLCC Vice President.
Thank you, Sean. And then I will give a personal statement, and then I'll open the floor to discussion, questions, and whatnot. Somebody give myself 3 minutes. So hi folks, my name is Nick Keough, my pronouns are he, him, his. I'm honored to have been nominated or appointed by President Blyleven for this role. I believe that I will be a good fit for this role. I've been in student government for over a year now. I started off as an intern for OSA, became a senator in last year's special election while at the same time acting as the interim communications director. Was re-elected to Senate for this year. Was nominated and confirmed as pro tempore, and now I've stepped up as the acting vice president. I think it's quite apparent that I am qualified for this role, and through my experience in student government, I've gained a lot of institutional knowledge. I think just within the last few weeks, I've demonstrated my qualifications by, just in the last few weeks, I have demonstrated my qualifications for becoming vice president. Since I've entered this role, check-ins with senators have been scheduled, agendas have been redesigned and sent out in a timely manner. I've shown my ability to effectively organize and run a work session, and just last week I demonstrated my ability to run a Senate meeting, and although it wasn't the smoothest ever, we as a team were able to compromise with each other in the end and ultimately finish the meeting, which was hasn't happened in a while. A vice president should be objective, level-headed, easily approachable, and empathetic. I believe many would describe me as such. I have high ambition when it comes to the fulfillment of my role as vice president. As vice president, my biggest priority of the year would be bridging the gap between student government and non-student governmental groups, such as our identity unions and clubs. My other priorities would be increased visibility for student government, better advocacy at the state level for community college students, better representation within the College Governance Council, and better supporting certain tangents of student government, such as the food pantry, the clothing stash, and the snack shack. I think it says a lot that any of us are here. None of us have to be here. I want to be here, and it would be my honor to serve as your vice president. So thank you all for your consideration. With that, I will open the floor to discussion, questions, and entertain any motions. I'll take a sec. Was it Diego? Anyone else?
So, I think that you've done a fantastic job as far as organizing work sessions. You've been on top of setting up the meetings that have, up to this point, not happened at all between the senators. I think that when you speak of your natural approachability, that is all true. And much of what you said rings true to me. I have been a little bit shaken in my faith of whether or not you will serve as a objective vice president, and that in our last work session, regardless of our Senate unanimously coming to a decision, you went ahead and put on the agenda, and then regardless of our Senate unanimously discussing with you before that Senate meeting, you went ahead and went with the Senate meeting as it was, and ultimately that resulted in a great public fumble. And while it's true that it was ultimately resolved, all that could have been avoided beforehand and done in private. Another point that brings a big concern to me is in the meeting where Dan resigned as pro tem, your duties were to fill in, and all that needed to be done was a simple closure, and I understand you needed to go. But that also shook my faith in whether or not you would serve well there. That's why.
So just to respond, last week's Senate meeting was unfortunate, and I do apologize. And as I stated earlier, going forth, I wanted to work on better communicating and hearing out the Senate to prevent what happened. And then also to address when Dan resigned and I had to leave the meeting. That is not something that normally occurs. I really had somewhere to be, and I had told people before that I would probably be stepping out of the meeting early, and I just was very, very late to picking up my friend from the airport, and they waited an hour there. So at that point, it was more like I need to go get my friend that's waiting on me, and not ideally I should have adjourned the meeting, but it was more of a sort of I gotta go. So just to address that, is there any further discussion?
I'd like to ask you a question.
Absolutely.
Why do you think last week's Senate meeting went so south so fast?
Well, first of all, our governing documents are god-awful, and they're very vague, and they leave a lot of room for misinterpretation or just differing interpretations. So that definitely has been a problem for us this year. And then specifically what happened last Senate meeting, I would probably take most of the blame for that. Like I said, I should have better communicated with the Senate and heard y'all out more in work session to prevent what happened. And I didn't, and it was a huge learning moment for me. And everything this year has been a learning moment for all of us, so just the important part of that is actually learning from it and not precipitating sort of what happened.
Question. So, since given the hiccup that recently happened, how are we to know that that is not a hiccup that is going to happen regularly? Because, this is the first Senate meeting. It doesn't really set a trend.
Yeah, I would say that I acknowledge that it was a mistake, and I apologize, and I've learned from it, and moving forward, I'll do everything to prevent that. And I think at this point, y'all kind of generally know me as a person, and know that I'm pretty level-headed and usually pretty fair. So I do not foresee that ever happening again. Adam?
In your words, what is the role of a chairman in a meeting?
So that's actually something that I was going to address sort of in my report later. We're actively looking at the effectiveness of like parliament procedure within our meeting spaces, and if it's like something that like, I mean, the point of having parliament procedure is to like make meetings more efficient, and if it's not, then we need to take a look at that. So yeah, just lost my train of thought. Can you repeat your question?
My question was, in your words, what is the role of a chairperson in a meeting?
Yeah, so that's something we're actively looking at, is like defining what the role of the chair is. I think that was another reason of like what happened last week, is like I had a misunderstanding of what the power of the chair has, and then other people had like understandings of what the chair was. That's sort of where it comes to like we need to look at Robert's rules and how we're implementing them a little closer, and like clearly define what power the chair actually has, so we can avoid those sort of like misuses of power. Yeah. Diego, you have a time shot?
I'm possibly the most rules-minded person on the student government, and I just would like to figure out what occurred with our, right now we're meeting publicly in breach of the public meeting laws of Oregon. I understand not following our constitution because it's a mess, but state laws are another issue. I just want to figure out what happened with posting our agenda publicly so that all the student body, I mean, our gallery is quite a bit less than it was last week, and it could be as a result of them not knowing where we're at and when to find us, and that student voice not being present as a result. So what happened?
Yeah, so we have a consistent booking in the boardroom for our meetings, except when there's Board of Education meetings, which there is tonight. So they take priority, they have that space. I created the agenda, and like it was ready to be posted yesterday and stuff. And then I was like driving around. I don't like that doesn't matter. But I was like, it came to my mind. I was like, there's a Board of Education meeting tomorrow, and like we have a Senate meeting, and like those are supposed to be, those often happen in the same space. So like I called Keely and I called Liz, and I was like, we gotta get in the room. And then I think this morning we confirmed our booking of this room. So yeah, that was unfortunate. So I was like, I couldn't post the agenda, but it would have had misinformation about like the actual location of the meeting. But this is also like another learning moment. We're all learning. So going forth, we'll be sure to like have the whenever there's a Board of Education meeting, we'll have our alternative meeting space secured and on the agenda and the agenda on time. But thank you for bringing that up. Yeah.
So before I cast my vote, I didn't have enough time to know you as a senator or a vice president. I just want to know if anyone among my colleagues has any doubt that they will be able to handle this responsibility.
Yeah.
Personally and briefly, I don't see that as an issue. I think that Nick has both the experience from being in student government for quite some time and being in various positions that would make this kind of just a natural position for him to be assigned to.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit in my original statement, in that the word that really rang as an issue for me was the objectivity. And my understanding of what a chair does, to answer Ken's question indirectly, is that they're a facilitator, and that their job is to essentially be, this is a glorified secretary, is what someone told me, and that they're essentially keeping track of everything, making sure everything is orderly, conducted smoothly, and aren't necessarily enforcing their will on anything, except for in the very rare circumstances of, in our Constitution, breaking a tie. And that's the primary conflict I have with what I have seen of of Nick so far, is that the objectivity has not been there, and that's, I guess that's one I'll leave it at.
Can
Oh, yeah, follow-up question.
I'm gonna take a stack real quick. So I had Hannah next and then, oh, and yeah.
So, but do you think that, I do believe that people make mistakes, but do you believe that in the future, you will be able to become objective and do this job?
I like to be an optimist. I try to believe in the best in everyone. I also often get daggers in the back as a result of that. And at this point, I do not.
And then Adam.
In response to your question, I too am an optimist. I think you're a great guy. But the fact of the matter is, from what I've seen as newly appointed, it's been nothing but chaos. And then the meeting that we did sit upon, it filled us even deeper into chaos. And so, essentially in my mind, I do have doubt because there is no evidence showing, other than the next work session, that you are the right fit. And that, and to your second question, I'm not sure. I too firmly believe that we all learn from our mistakes. I make so many mistakes. I completely believe that. But it comes down to the fact of the matter, how late the term is. Is there time for that learning right now?
I'm just going to quickly respond to David and Hannah. I think I have been objective. I think probably looking from the outside in, the optics aren't good. But I do believe that I have been very objective and fair with everything that's been happening. Also, it's important to note that like the circumstances that I came into this position are not traditional. Like, it's not like what's been happening to like be stepping into this role at this time is not something that people usually go through. So like, it's definitely been difficult, and it's absolutely been a learning moment. And stepping into this role, I can assure everyone that I will be very objective. And then I had an excellent second.
So I like a question kind of thing. I'm also kind of, it's like a weird question statement. You can respond if you feel the need to. Vice presidents do more than just chair meetings. I just want to say that. They like represent all of student government. And I feel like senators should also be like kind of addressing that in their questions. I feel like you are fairly asking, because these Senate meetings have not been going so well with our previous vice president. And so far, they were kind of messy, and I see that that was kind of done by oversight on your part, but also misunderstanding of the Constitution. And I'm going to be honest, it was a misunderstanding of the Constitution on both parts, and it seems as though you took the initiative when maybe you shouldn't have, if you did. But I want to say, you do more than just chair these, and how are you going to actively take part in helping the president with staff, and helping the president with optics, and helping senators with their projects? How are you going to work outside of this? And how do the senators feel about your ability to function outside of Senate meetings?
Thank you. Yeah, so absolutely, like, there's way more to being vice president than just chairing meetings. Like, going forth, I really want to be more supportive for our President Keeley. She's been through a lot, and, like, I feel like she really just needs, like, someone that's, like, ambitious and like sort of like ready to get to work, and I think that is me. To like address like other things, I started check-ins, which will be starting tomorrow with senators, so we can keep the line of communication open and so that I can better support them in their positions. Additionally, I've been working kind of in the background just about like knowing what all of our senators and staff members are like passionate about and kind of just kind of like helping them pinpoint that passion into like action and doing the best I can to support them. So yeah.
What will you do to support marginalized communities?
Yeah, so that's one of my biggest priorities this year within student government is better representing marginalized communities across campus. And by doing that, I would like to see like, I think bridging the gap between our, the many identity unions and like non-student governmental groups on campus will be really effective to be like, kind of like co-hosting like events with these unions and supporting them in like their sort of projects and like helping them get more visibility so that all students across campus that may identify with the marginalized communities can like find those resources. Sometimes they're not always like clearly out there, and so I just want to like help the unions with events and like better visibility and then also just like speaking up on events and like issues that marginalized communities face and just being more outspoken on that and sort of acknowledging that sort of like lived struggle that marginalized communities face.
The food pantry's been being brought up a lot, and currently it is in a very difficult situation with the limitation of people to work down there to provide the hours to even keep it open. What are your thoughts with the food pantry's current situation, and what would you like to see done that may potentially help improve that?
First of all, I'm glad that the food pantry has Jesse this year and everyone else that's been helping. And I think without that, it would have like completely failed. So I think it's really important to like acknowledge the work Jesse's put in and like really appreciate that. I have a meeting with Jesse tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about the food pantry and like the status of it, and sort of we want to. Me and Jesse have sort of spoken about how during winter break we want to sort of like continue the services that the food pantry has during winter break, so like students during the holidays can like get access to food. And then also I'm going to be scheduling a meeting with Paul Jarrell pretty soon, talking about like relocating the food pantry into a more accessible space, more visible space, and then also through the governance council systems, I think we can, that'll be a really good place to like sort of push the relocation of this food pantry. And I think Adam has already brought that up to facilities council, so like that's gonna be super effective. But yeah, the food pantry is like, I would really like to see it relocated, if not at the end of this term, then like somewhere in the middle, before the middle of the next term. So yeah, the food pantry is an amazing resource, and like that was one of my like another goal this year is I really want to better support food pantry, clothing stash, those sort of like really awesome like resources that students have.
So, sorry, this is a little bit emotional for me. I'm realizing that you have all these meetings tomorrow with a whole bunch of people to figure out where they are in their positions. You haven't really reached out to me. You say that like you know what I want to do and what I'm passionate about, but I honestly haven't talked to you about that. So for me, it's a little bit like kind of like a knife. Also, like the exclusion of just being down there in the clothing stash, not really getting the help that I needed.
Yeah, absolutely. That space for the clothing stash is not accessible, and I really want to work on relocation so we can like better support you in that role. As of setting up meetings, I mostly did it with senators and like chief of staff and Liz, and haven't really gotten to staff members, but that is a place I want to get to. As we were walking here to the meeting today, we kind of talked about like the coat drive and like stuff like that, and that's why I really want to meet with you soon to like better support you, and then also like help Shauna better support you in his role as chief of staff. But I'm sorry that it's like seemed that way. That was not my intention, and I do want to be with you and help you support you.
All right. Before I move to appointment, I just want to be hopeful, and I want your word that you will not be influenceable. You will do the work as a vice president in the most objective way.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely will. Like, I'm definitely like committed to objectivity and being fair, and especially being objective within this role as vice president.
Yeah. Based on that, I move the appointment of Nick Kenyon as vice president.
There's been a motion to appoint myself as vice president. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Made by Amy, second by Michael. We'll move into discussion, starting with the maker of the motion.
I think that, and as I said before, I want to be hopeful. I believe also people make mistakes, but I also believe that two things are important. It's the present and the future. And for the little time I know you, I think that you're a man of work, and you will do your job correctly. So that's what I have to say.
Appreciate it. And then the second discussion is.
I know that what we've all gone through these past couple of weeks has been very stress-inducing, but at the same time I think we are still in a stage of healing, and the best way that we can heal is to stick with one another, to understand that we are all different, but we all have the same common goal and the same common ground. And cohesion is incredibly important for us to work together in student government.
Any further discussion? I'll add just like one last thing, just to reiterate, I do think that I am qualified for this role, and I do think I will execute this role like in a very objective and equitable manner. I am not perfect. I am human, constantly learning, making mistakes, learning from them. And I think we all are humans. I mean, yeah, we all are humans. And I just like would be honored to serve as the vice president and work with all of you to like get the work done that I all know that you want to do. And I think we can, it's been a slow start, but we can really start doing some awesome work and just focusing on like building our team up, building each other up, and supporting our students, most importantly, supporting all of our students. Is there any further discussion? With that, we will move into a vote. All those in favor of appointing myself as vice president? 3. And opposed? Okay. And abstentions? Okay. That's a tie. So, as the chair can break the tie, Amadeo, will you?
Because it's a conflict of interest
Yeah.
this time, so I think only
Keely can what?
I think
I think at this point, with the tie and there's no tiebreaker in the room, that you would have to table this.
yeah.
Okay. So I'll table it. Or I'll entertain a motion. Wait. Okay. So it was tied, so vote fails, and then I'll entertain a motion for tabling, or just like.
Table, regardless of having no session.
Okay, so we'll table this and we'll have it on the agenda for next week. With that, we're going to have to move past item 7B of the agenda, which is pro tempore appointment, as I am currently the pro tempore. So with that, we'll move into 7C of the agenda, which is staff ratification of the sustainability coordinator. So Jesse is currently our interim sustainability coordinator and has been doing an amazing job. And I think it's about time Jesse was given the opportunity to be officially ratified into this position. It is my understanding that this position is in the talks of being split between another individual, Mary. I do not know much about this, so I'll open the floor to discussion if anyone has any more information. Adam?
The split position is for a woman named Margaret Matty. She is, as my understanding is, she complements Jesse very well in the split of the duties that they want